First Impressions. This is the segment where Del Pullen reviews the first episode of a TV show, one contemporary, one classic, and then comes back and reports to you if it's any good or not. Welcome back to the show, Del.
James, good to be back.
All right, so I like the theme for today's show because most of these have themes. The two shows we're doing this week is Married with Children and Modern Family. So this would be the Ed O'Neill episode, I believe. Is that the connecting thread?
That is, or as I call him, America's dad. I mean, I grew up with the guy, and I guess he's still there for me and every night when I go to bed and I need him.
Well, hang on. When I was growing up, or when we were growing up, I thought Bill Cosby was America's dad. Whatever happened to that guy? Is he still out there doing comedy? He's probably, no?
Yeah, I'm sure it's perfectly fine. Him and OJ are probably hanging out.
All right, so tell me about the first episode with Married with Family. I think I've seen this.
Yeah, so Married with Children, actually, you probably didn't see the original pilot because it had two different actors playing the kids originally, so they scrapped it, but you can go watch it on YouTube.
I did not see that. I did not see that.
Don't worry. It's weird to just watch two exact episodes of something with different actors, but the actual one aired in 1987, ran through 1997, so it was 11 seasons, and it was paired with The Simpsons most of the time. It was the longest running thing that Fox ever had for live action, and it was basically Al Bundy, a local shoe salesman in Chicago, his wife, Peggy Bundy, and his two kids, Bud and Kelly. And I'm sure most people that are our age knew Kelly Bundy from having a large crush on her. She was played by Christina Applegate.
I didn't notice that. No.
So basically, this episode is very simple. It's just Al and his home life, kind of everybody taking a crap on him. The whole show is just insults between family members and Al insulting his customers at work. And that's really all this episode is. There's no real plot to speak of. It's kind of a boring episode. There's like two jokes in it, and the show would go on to almost become a live action cartoon. Very silly. Like later on, he gets hit in the head with bowling balls and falls off a roof, gets struck by lightning. But this is a very down to earth, realistic show. Or at least it starts that way. And it's just mean spirited, which is all right. But I liked what it grew into. This first episode is very, very plain though.
I thought Married with Children was very suspicious because the guy that works at a shoe store in the mall can afford a 3-bedroom house in Chicago. That doesn't seem very realistic.
Well, you got to remember, this was back when there was a middle class. So
what is that?
Exactly.
Was that like elves or unicorns or something? And then also,
I noticed between the shows is, you'll see that in the second one, they're definitely more upper class, but this was solidly a middle class struggle family where a guy he was the only sole provider, could work an 8-hour day job and afford a decent house in the suburbs.
Come home and cuss his kids. Yeah. I also thought it was very suspicious how unbelievably gorgeous his wife is compared to him. Like, it's not believable that those two people would be a couple.
Well, have you ever seen Kevin James? I mean, isn't that like all TV schlub dads have somehow this ridiculously hot wife at home? Homer has Marge, it's a TV trope. One of these days I'll do a whole thing on it. I mean, it's ridiculous, and the weird thing is when I was a kid, I didn't understand. Peggy's always, bugging him to get in the bedroom and have a little action, and he just keeps pushing her off and off. Now I'm an adult. I'm like, what is wrong with him?
Yeah,
he's got a
decent
house, a little bit of obnoxious kids, but a great house, a decent, stable job, and a wife that wants to be with him physically all the time. Like, he had it a lot better.
So the other Ed O'Neill show is Modern Family. I must confess, I've never seen one episode of this. Is it any good?
You know what? I got to say it is really good, especially in, I have headcanon where this is just the same character aged up, even though they have different names. So Modern Family ran from 2009 to 2020, and it had the same thing, 11 seasons, very popular. The difference is instead of focusing on one family, this show focuses on 3 different types of families. There's the Dunphys, which are your classic nuclear family, father, mother, and 2.5 kids. There's the wife's brother, Mitchell, and his gay boyfriend, Cameron, who have an adopted Korean daughter. And then both of their fathers is played by Ed O'Neill, who plays Jay Pritchett, the patriarch of the family. And he's married to his new wife is a Colombian lady who has a son from a previous relationship. And it's all the dynamics about how, You can have different types of families, and sometimes there's similarities and sometimes there's vast differences between those. This is definitely a stronger pilot. It really just is there to introduce the 3 different families and their dynamic. But the main plot line is that Cam and Mitchell are bringing back Lily, their adopted daughter from Korea. By the end of the episode, they have to introduce them to their slightly, antiquated, Ed O'Neill's character, Jay Pritchett, and the entire rest of the family. But this is definitely a stronger pilot, much funnier jokes the whole time. Okay, everybody's called out.
Here's my next question. I've never seen Modern Family. Should I? Is it worth watching?
You know what? I think so. It's not the best or most original sitcom ever, but it's a solid sitcom. I'd give it an 8 out of 10 for sure. There's definitely things I like better.
That's a high score.
Yeah, it's in the same way that Married with Children broke ground originally, caused a lot of controversy, like The Simpsons. This mildly did that, but not really. But it's funny. You will laugh every episode for sure. There's a couple of great guffaws even in the pilot.
All right, tell them about your podcast you got going on the side.
Oh, that's right. So tomorrow, if you check in, it's called TV Showcase. Just Showcase is one word. You can find us on YouTube and any of your podcast things. Apple will be up next week on iTunes. But essentially, it's all the shows that we do here with First Impressions. And then my old show, Pilot Pass. We're doing seasons 1 and 2 are getting uploaded now. Season 3 is going to be starting next month. And tomorrow, the classic episode of Married with Children that we did back in 2020 will be going up. So if you want a more in-depth look into it, my partner back then, Matthew Pizzana, and I, did Married with Children back then. So it's TV Showcase on all the podcast apps and YouTube. Please check us out and download us and subscribe.
Okay, well, this has been First Impressions with the great Del Pullen. Thank you very much, Del. We'll do it again next week.
Thank you.